Hey guys, so today's video is about sealing up some drafty windows. And this house was built in 2005. This is our second winter here. And last winter I dealt with a massive air leak around my fireplace. I've actually got a video of how I sealed that up. I'll post a link up here. I got that sealed up, and so it's felt much warmer in our house this winter. But the past couple days we've seen some single-digit temperatures. And I'm noticing drafts from other places, mostly from the windows. So these windows are about 15, 16 years old, and they're a name brand window, but I guess just the seals around them are starting to break down, but there's a lot of drafts. And I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a lot of condensation on this window. Most of my windows, like some of them I even had ice forming because there was condensation, but there was enough cold air coming around them that it was forming some ice. So in total, I've got 13 windows in my house. This is the last one that I'm doing. And it's a small bathroom window. But what I'm using is a window insulation kit. And so what this is, it's basically double-sided tape and some thin plastic sheeting. And once you get it on the window, you use a hairdryer to heat the plastic and it'll shrink and get tight. So it gets out all the wrinkles and things like that. But because it is double-sided tape that you're dealing with, it can be kind of tricky. And after doing 12 other windows already, I kind of got a hang of a good way to do it where you don't end up with a ton of wrinkles. So they sell these kits. You can either get a 1-window kit or 3-window or 5-window or 10-window, whatever. But you can see it's sold as a sheet of this size. So this one's 62 inches wide, 210 inches long. And when you open it up, it just comes like this. So it's just folded over on itself, 5 or 6 times, and then kind of rolled up. Also comes with some 1/2-inch double-sided tape. Now, there are some indoor and outdoor kits, and basically it's the same thing, it's just a thicker plastic. And so if you have something like window crank handles or something that's going to prevent you from doing it on the inside, you can actually do it on the outside. I think the tape that comes with it is a little more heavy duty to stand up to extreme temperatures. So this is a brand new set. I've got a little bit of plastic left over from another kit. I just wanted to show you kind of how it comes. Now, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either apply it directly to the trim, which is what I'm going to do for this window, or you can find a spot inside the trim on the window itself where you're going to get a nice continuous seal all the way around. Some of my windows, I've actually gone inside the trim and actually done it on the window itself. I've got a couple windows in my house that are 2 windows side by side that are molded together, and they had a little ridge right in the middle, and so I couldn't get a continuous seal over that little ridge that runs down the middle, and so I went on the outer trim. Because of the way these windows, this trim on the side has a little bit of a contour to it, you really only get a continuous seal on a little tiny 1/8-inch strip up here. And so for a better seal, I'm just going to put it on the actual face trim. One thing to keep in mind, because this is double-sided adhesive, it may, depending on how your trim or how your windows are finished, if there's loose paint or anything, it may pull those off when you go to remove this. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and get started going around. So I've got my top strip of double-sided tape stuck to the trim. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel back just about 1 inch or so from each side. That way the vertical pieces can overlap and I've got a nice continuous seal. Sometimes working with double-sided tape can be tricky as far as peeling the backing off. And if you run into that, you can either take like a straight pen or the tip of a razor knife and kind of get under that backing material to help you pull it off. Okay, so you can see I've got all 4 sides taped up. I have peeled back about 1 inch from each end of the tape and just kind of folded it back on itself, so I have a little bit of a tail. I can work whichever direction I need to with however the plastic's kind of falling or behaving. And you can see the whole middle sections, they're still covered with the backing material, so they're not sticky to the touch. And that's the key. As you put this real flimsy plastic up here, static electricity is going to want to draw it in different places. And if you go ahead and peel all the backing off now, and you go to hold the plastic up there, it's going to suck in and get stuck in a place or a position that you may not want it to be in. So the best way to do it that I found is just peel a little corner off and kind of work it as you go. So here's my piece of plastic that I have cut for this window. And you want to do a little oversize. That way you have enough material to go around. And this is basically just a scrap of the very tail of one of my other kits. So I didn't have a ton to work with, and my top and bottom length is real close to being not enough material. But if I just do my very top edge across the top, I'll have plenty of length for my bottom. So because I've got these corners exposed, I can use those to kind of tack it in place. And so I'll line up my top, get it where it needs to be, and then I'll just touch the plastic onto the double-sided tape where I've got it exposed. Now I've got that one corner pinned in, and I can either pin in this other corner, or usually it's best to kind of work your way across the plastic, keeping some tension. So that's what I'll do. I'll pull my backing tail out a little bit, and then just kind of stick it as I go. And so I'm starting to actually fall down where I'm not covering all of my double-sided tape. And if you pull gently, you can pull it off of the tape. I don't want to pull it all the way off, but I do want to reset. So I've got it half peeled. I went ahead and tacked this other side just so I know that it's kind of straight across the top. Now I'm going to reach up underneath and pull my tail, and so I can just kind of smooth it over as I go. All right, so I've got a nice good seal on the top. And now because I'm dealing with a limited length down here at the bottom, to make sure that I get it all the way down, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold the plastic out from the window. And I'm going to pull down in the middle just to keep some tension. And then I'm going to peel about half of this bottom section backing off. And so peeling down from the middle, kind of holding some tension on my corner, I'm going to stick my middle section and then work my way across, sealing across the bottom. And now I can work the other way, holding tension in this other corner, working my way across. Now you can repeat the same for the sides. So I'll just hold some outward tension, peel a little of the backing off, and stick it down. Peel a little more backing, stick it down. Reposition, pull some more backing, stick it down. And just working my way all the way down the window. Now you may get to a point where material is bunched up and you'll end up with a couple folds. And if you do that, once you start stretching the material with a hairdryer, you can kind of unstick that section and try to redistribute that material so there's not many folds on top of others. So ideally you want to avoid that as much as possible when initially sticking it, but sometimes it happens. Okay, so we've got everything stuck, a nice good continuous seal around the entire thing. Now we can use our hairdryer. So if you've got a hairdryer, great. If not, a heat gun will work as well. You'll just want to watch because a heat gun is going to put out a more intense heat. So you may just need to vary the distance that you hold the heat gun away from the plastic. You don't want to melt a hole in it. You can see down in this corner where it looks very wrinkly, and I'll kind of start there just so you can see how it smooths out. So you can see the wrinkles are basically gone down here. I need to do the rest of the window. I'm going to see if I can reposition the camera just to see more of those wrinkles coming out. Okay, so now that the plastic is all nice and taut, shrunk, so all the wrinkles are gone. Kind of sounds like a drum. It's time to trim off the excess plastic. So what I use for that is just a fresh razor knife, and what I'm going to do, depending on where you mount your tape, find like a hard line in the trim. So there's like a hard step right here that I put my tape up against. I'm actually going to run my razor blade along that sharp line just to kind of hide, if I score the wood at all, you're not ever going to see it. So I'm going to trim around. As I'm trimming, I'm going to be pulling on the excess plastic just to keep it tight against there. If the plastic kind of comes up and you'll have some overlaps when you're trying to cut, it's not going to cut as good, and you're going to end up with this weird little flappy thing that stays there. Okay, you can see the plastic is trimmed. Nice straight line following the original hard line in the trim. Okay, so plastic is on, stretched, trimmed, good to go. Other than a reflection and maybe a little bit of a wrinkle in there from where the plastic was originally folded in the packaging, you can't really tell any difference with this window. The one thing it does do is it stops any cold drafts from coming in. Now over time, the surface of this plastic will get a little cold, but the big thing is it keeps warm air from escaping your house. Because what happens is that cold air will come in and the warm air goes to the low pressure side. So what you're actually feeling is your warm air inside going out. This is the last window I had to do in my house. I can already tell a noticeable difference when you get that many windows. I've got 13 windows. When you get that many windows that are all leaking, it makes a big difference in the amount of warm air that escapes your house. If you've got really drafty windows in your house, and ideally you want to replace the windows. Right now it's wintertime. There's some huge supply chain issues currently with the global economy. Construction material prices are at an all-time high. So this stuff's pretty cheap. I think this from my local big box store was like $7, and it does 5 windows, 5 pretty good sized windows. Basically, it's just the amount of material that comes in the box. So I'll post a link to that stuff down below. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them down below. If you like what I do, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, we'll see you later.